He's not bobbling that much. Mark couldn't guess who this was. I wouldn't have known either if I didn't see the name on it, but I can't remember anybody's face. So we'll see if anybody in the chat knows who this is. But it's a nice little gift from a friend who I spent last weekend at Keeneland with. But happy Thursday. It's Josh here on the wrong lead. We got a fun show for you as usual. Obviously, you know that the real racing is starting because places like Turfway and Sam Houston are no longer running. So it gives us more time to, as much as we love playing live, but gives us a little bit more time to dive into some of the bigger sequences and stuff like that. So we have some fun stuff to look forward to. We got the Maker's Mark Mile on Friday we're going to take a look at. We got the Turf Pick 3 on Saturday, and then we'll take a look at the Lexington. So we'll be all Keeneland this weekend, which tends to be, I know, definitely one of mine. If not, I know Mark or Caleb too. His favorite little boutique meets. Mark hates it because he hates everything about Kentucky. But one man who loves everything Kentucky, everything Indiana, everything Illinois, especially Hawthorne, Prairie Meadows, Lone Star, Sam Houston, Rotama Park. Mr. BD Horse Player, how you doing? Mr.
You forgot Belterra, you forgot Arapahoe, all the good tracks. I just want to say I might be a little distracted right now. I'm in the process of channeling my inner two turns, and I'm rooting home at 7-5 somewhere in Virginia, West Virginia. I don't even know what state it is, but it's a 7-5, which will probably be 1-9 at the first flash. So make sure you guys are all joining me on the bridge. Mark likes to be on the bridge.
I believe earlier today, or actually not even earlier today, like 10 minutes ago, we were talking about something, and I was like, yeah, landing a lot of chalk. And I believe you called me Mike Rodriguez.
Mike L. Rodriguez. Hey, I've got a question for you before you bring in Mike. I got this glass this week, okay? And I'm trying to figure out, you remember I went and got this from the souvenir pack for the Jack Daniels, right?
Yeah.
Do you see the line here?
Yep.
Does that line equal a baby splash in Caleb terms?
That is absolutely a Caleb baby splash.
I mean, I'm looking at it, and that's like 2 inches. So I figure that's a Caleb baby splash.
Yeah.
All right. I've always been curious what a baby splash truly was, and now I know.
Yeah. Well, sometimes, here's the thing, right? A baby splash either ends up being about 2 fingers, or a baby splash ends up being like a half finger, but like rapid fire. So like every sip, you're going back and doing it. So, but I guess we'll bring in
Excuse you, Mark.
Is your chair okay?
That wasn't the chair. He had Taco Bell.
No, it was definitely. I don't know. I hope. Yeah, I hope it's a chair. Yeah.
What is? Are you sitting on a duck?
My chair is, from doing too many of the Josh leans, it's inquired a bit of a squeak.
I'm sorry, Daisy. Donald's dead.
No. Mark, what are your feelings on Keeneland? I know you're a big Saratoga guy, but
I love Keeneland because I think you have to love high class, high caliber racing. My problem with Keeneland is I am absolutely horrible at handicapping it and even worse at betting it. So Keeneland is a meet I very much enjoy watching. You're going to see again, it's neat to see the first running of the 2-year-olds. It's high class stuff. So I'll get to see a lot of those horses later on in the year, but I enjoy watching it. Just it's not my most profitable place,
Yeah, but if there's anything that we really, really enjoy here, it's making money. And there's actually the only thing that we enjoy more than making money, I think, as a team on this stream is losing money. because we tend to do that a lot, especially at Keeneland. This weekend, I was lost until Busy Channel 1. So God bless Ravelli, and I got that horse home yesterday too.
Wait, you had the other Ravelli horse, whatever that one was.
Yeah.
That
I wish I could have doubled
literally
Ravelli into Ravelli. Like if I could have doubled Busy Channel to that, dude, I would be a multi-thousandaire.
An all Ravelli pick 3.
Now you're speaking my language.
That used to be Arlington every Saturday, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny because I remember seeing that horse and going, "Oh, that's the most Josh horse I've ever seen." Messaged you, and I'm glad you profited off the Joshiest Josh horse ever.
Andy says Keeneland's a lot more hoity-toity than Saratoga, and I can definitely kind of see that. Saratoga is very. I mean, like Saratoga's got the 1863 club, and it's got those like fancier areas now, but like it's all very much new money, right? It's not old money like some of the areas in Keeneland are. And I think the perfect person to talk about old money at Keeneland is Mr. Caleb, who's probably the only person among us who has been in Keeneland jail. So multiple times, unless it was just the same trip, but
multiple times. No, you're right.
multiple times. So would you agree with Andy's assessment there that Keeneland's more hoity-toity than Saratoga?
Yeah, I would say so. I think I love them both. They're both different. You know, Keeneland's a little more uppity sometimes. You know, a little more, high class, girls in sundresses, whatever you want to call it. And I think Saratoga's a little more, salt of the earth handicappers and also girls in sundresses. So I think they're both good in their own way.
That's funny. Yeah, Andy's talking. He looks like he says that. Keeneland was nice, but I'm all about a picnic table and my jean shorts at Toga. I believe I retired my jean shorts about 20 years ago, maybe longer. But
so Andy is a Jort fan, huh?
If you have kids, they come back. I mean, the cargo shorts, the jean shorts, they all come back.
Stephen Fox saying class doesn't matter for women either. I don't know about that one, Stephen. You might want to keep that one.
I just have to say it. I've got something stuck in my head and I can't get it to go away. And so I'm just going to do it. And Caleb, I'm sorry, but I'm not sure who wore it better right now. I'm not sure if Blue's Clues or Caleb wore it better, but something's going on here. And I don't know what's going on. I'm sorry.
Dude,
I'm just the new Blue's Clues. That's not the original guy. That's not Joe.
That's a new guy. Yeah,
that's like the fourth. That's fourth generation Blue's Clues, brother.
Dude, I'm just laughing because like I see the shirt that Caleb's wearing, and like that is just like prototypical like, yeah, I'm going to the office today.
Right.
Like that's the kind of shirt that I would put on. It's like, yeah, I guess I'm gonna wear a button down. That's what I'm gonna wear. I'm going out to the bar afterwards. Yeah, I'll put that with some jeans. I'm good to go.
Coming down the runway now is Caleb. He's sporting a Vineyard Vines fall aspect of 2022.
Dude, that's not Caleb McNamara. That's Mr. Vineyard Vines over there. Mark is just over there, just.
I mean, Caleb to me seems like the kind of guy that lives in flannel. So, plaid seems to be the appropriate Caleb look.
It's basically summer flannel. I mean,
right?
You can't wear flannel.
You can't wear flannel. I mean, you're from West Virginia. It fits. Like it fits.
Yeah.
Lives in flannel. He's a lumberjack, and that's okay.
Oh God.
I just have to know, Josh, let the audience know how self-conscious that our friend Mark is now about his chair. We've royally. If you couldn't tell, he's usually red, but look how red he is right now. This is
ridiculous. Mark literally even said that he's going to have to buy a new chair now. So.
Oh, look at Nick Feldman.
Nick, he would make the perfect Sears catalog model. Look at this.
He would.
I'm gonna take that as a compliment.
This is what happens. This is what happens when you miss 2 streams in a row. Like everyone's just gonna
It's
start
like a compliment rolled up in an insult, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm gonna choose you as a compliment.
We'll see.
He's real popular in nursing home waiting rooms.
Oh man. But yeah, I mean we'll talk some Keeneland here. Let's pull up the old PPs here. So Friday we're just gonna take a look at the Maker's Mark Mile because this race just came up excellent. I mean, this is just a really, really good
Stellar.
race.
You're looking. Stellar is the word you're looking for, Josh.
Okay, Mike. Anyways,
Miguel.
so Miguel.
Miguel.
Uh, oh no, he looks like one of the French Canadian guys off Letterkenny. Oh man, that one that's getting even deeper there.
Man,
But
I feel like we have a few people that watch Letterkenny. It appears.
oh yeah, Clamps loves that show. Gary's always talking. Or at least he likes the gifts that come from it. So, yeah, your 2-1 favorite in this race is going to be the 6 Smooth Like Straight. You got a couple of horses here at 5-1 in Mason and Count Again. Ivar at 6-1, 8-1 on Set Piece Public Sector, and then you got double digits on the rest. You got 2 Lobos in here. Do you have 2 Chads in here? Yeah. And then you just got some really good horses in this race. Some Like It Hot Brown is no slouch in his own right, and he's going to be double digits in this race. So that just kind of tells you what kind of field we got here. From a pace standpoint, though, it doesn't look like there's a ton of speed in this race. At least that's kind of how I interpreted it. I think there's 2 clear-cut speed horses and Some Like It Hot Brown, Smooth Like Straight. Caleb, is that kind of how you're seeing the pace scenario here, or am I way off there?
Yeah, I see it the same way you do, Josh. I thought there was 2 pretty clear-cut pace setters here with Some Like a Hot Brown and Smooth Like Straight. And that's kind of it. I didn't see anybody else that wants to be even remotely involved in the early pace. There are a couple of horses that may be fine to take up, 3rd or 4th, maybe a horse like Ivar or Atone or whoever else. But I didn't see a ton of pace in this race.
Brian and Mark, what about you? And you guys got any other opinions on the pace breakdown here, at least early?
I think that. Well, go ahead, Brian.
I want to make an argument for the 10 Mirror Mission being involved in the pace picture a little bit, and it's one of those things where I'm not sure exactly. If you look at Brisnet, some of the early pace figures that came back, I mean, that last out was it. The horse finally saw a firm for the first time in the better part of 9 months, and while it wasn't close to the pace early on, the way that the Brisnet pace is coming back, it seems like that horse may be forwardly placed. I mean, granted, is on the outside, but could end up being one of those nuisance horses that tries to go to the outside and forces some like Jose's hand inside a little bit.
Yeah, I think when I looked at the pace here, I thought this really probably came back sort of similar to how the Breeders' Cup Miles shaped up, doesn't it? I mean, Smooth Like Straight should kind of be your controlling speed. I would imagine he's the inside drawn of the speeds. I know on a lot of the pace, Tone being, just as fast as Smooth Like Straight. I don't know if I necessarily see it. Smooth Like Straight always sort of ends up on the lead, or very close to it. So I think it's a real similar setup to how the how the Breeders' Cup Mile shaped up, with Smooth Like Straight kind of ending up on the lead, and everybody's got to sort of hunt him down in the stretch, and it's a hell of a field.
Yeah, but Ben Wilkie saying that he thinks that we brought down the CT feed, and apparently Brian has already confessed that
they don't have mail.
Yeah, you unplug their AOL. I did see, talking about the pace, I did see our friend Murphy here. He posted, surprisingly, Timeform has a 3 on the front too, but he doesn't see it otherwise. And Murphy and I were talking about this actually a little bit earlier, and I didn't really see it. So I mean, I guess if you go back to that, go back to those mile races, he's a little bit more forwardly placed. I think the outlier is the Saratoga race. This is just like I said, this is just a Brisnet thing. And maybe this is what Timeform saw too. Like, they see these really big early fractions, but then you see that the horse is 4 lengths off. So I mean, they went 23-1. They went 23-1 in a mile race, which is pretty quick for Saratoga. But I don't know. I don't really see this horse on the front end. And I mean, at the Pacific Classic in Fort Lauderdale, he was pretty far back. So I don't really see him being part of the early pace scenario here. And honestly, just because of the lack of speed, I kind of had a hard time getting around the 6 Smooth Like Straight in the spot. I looked at Count Again, the 7 horse, a little bit as well, but you know, I try not to use a 2-to-1 horse who might go off even shorter, and a horse that's going to be the second or third choice and Count Again. Like, so I think I'm just probably going to just hold my nose, single Smooth Like Straight. I think with the pace scenario, I think he's going to be at an advantage. I mean, he only got beaten by Space Blues last time out, so I think maybe you're a little worried about the layoff, but Mike McCarthy's pretty good setting his horses up off the layoff. So I don't have really too many concerns here. I'm going to single Smooth Like Straight, and it's not going to be very creative in this race. I really, I was trying not to be such a El Capitan in this first race, but it's just kind of how I saw it, pace scenario wise, speed figure wise. I mean, I started looking at other figures trying to get around this, but speaking of Mike, Mark, what about you? Did you kind of see it the same way? Where were you going to be going this race?
Smooth Like Straight is a massively talented horse, and I think when you're looking at a horse, big competitive field here, I think that there's no doubt that there's a lot of quality on this race. You sort of look at a short priced favorite and something like Smooth Like Straight, and you're trying to pick holes in him. And the only real thing that I can kind of pick at with Smooth Like Straight is he doesn't seem to have that little bit of extra punch that he had, let's say, back in 2020. He's finished second 4 times in a row. I get it, maybe, but Mo Forza beat him twice, United and Space Blues. I mean, I would toss out that Breeders' Cup Mile. I think the class of the field there was just better. But the 3 races before that, I kind of have to scratch my head and wonder, is he getting a little older and maybe just doesn't quite have the turn of foot, doesn't quite have that punch that he once had, or that will to win, or whatever it is that you're talking about. So I ended up actually with a couple of sort of other horses in here that I was super interested in. And I'm sure Caleb will tell me how much of a moron I am. But 2 that I was really interested in was In Love, which is the one horse, one of the Paulo Lobo entries in here. I thought his last 2 races were really good. I mean, I would toss that Breeders' Cup Mile. He had all sorts of trouble in it. But the 2 races prior to that, at both Kentucky Downs and at Keeneland, were both really, really good races. And he's a horse that's got he's 2 for 2 across the Keeneland surface. So he knows he handles it. And what we've seen so far this meet is that horses that have run well at Keeneland tend to come back and run well here again. So I thought In Love was actually a super, super interesting horse here, and Time Form agrees with me. And the other horse that I was really sort of interested in here is where is he? What is his number?
4.
Yeah, the 4.
The lowest number morning line is what you're looking
Yeah, there we go.
So Caleb, tell me why Mark likes this 4 horse.
So it's trained by this fellow that's named Chip Braun. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but I think he trains grass horses sometimes. And he's also the, I guess, second shortest price on the board. So you don't want to get beat by the second shortest price on the board ever.
defensively.
Defensively. And, and it's got this jockey who, from what I hear, is a terrible turf jockey. This Flavian Pratt, I guess is what they call him. I don't know. Mark, what do you like this for?
You pretty much covered it. So that's all the reasons. No, I mean, my thing with Mason here is that Chad could have stuck him anywhere, and he decides to stick him in a grade 1 with a really loaded field. They could have gone anywhere, and I mean, Juddmonte doesn't care that, oh yeah, we ran in the Maker's Mark Mile at Keeneland. They want to win races. So my thought is he is probably very, very well meant in this spot. But as Caleb said, I'm probably an idiot. So.
Yeah, I mean, you are probably an idiot, but I actually agree with you and most of your picks here.
God, here we go.
I like Mason here. I mean, this is a Juddmonte homebred that could have ran anywhere, like you said. And Juddmonte doesn't just throw horses in just for the fun of it. I mean, they spot the horses pretty well. This is a horse that has one bad race on his record over at the Corral against St. Mark's Basilica and a few other really nice race horses. Otherwise, has pretty much always shown up. I don't think this is the strongest group or grade 1 of American horses we've ever seen. So I like Mason here, and then I probably prefer the other Lobo horse. I do like In Love, especially at 10-1. I don't know if you get that, but I think that's a good price if you do get that. But I prefer Ivar, the 5. I think if you kind of look at the replays of the last 2 or 3 races, this horse has just not been able to catch a trip to save his life in his last couple of races. I mean, in the Breeders' Cup, he drew the 13 post and ended up the 12 post, breaking from the far outside. Was coming on really strong late in a race that was largely dominated on the front end. I mean, Smooth Like Straight made the lead. Space Blues sat about 3rd or 4th, a length or 2 off. There wasn't a ton of deep closing going on that day. I thought Ivar ran arguably the best race. Not that he was ever going to beat Space Blues, but ran a good race. The same thing with the last year's Keeneland Turf Mile. I mean, I think that he didn't have the greatest trip that day. And I think he finally gets a good draw, and we know he likes Keeneland. Lobo tends to target this meet. So I think both Lobo runners are live in here. But, odds notwithstanding, I would take Ivar over In Love. But I think they both make some sense. So I can't really dunk on Mark too much because I kind of think he's on the right track.
Brian.
Well, if you're not going to dunk on Mark, allow me to channel my inner Matumbo. Listen, there's a lot of horses here that look like they could win this race. And since you guys have covered the chalky ones, allow me to take the BD long shot of the race. There's 2 horses I thought that at a price are pretty interesting. First, I'm going to start on the inside. Cheryl's Bite at 50-1 on the morning line, I think. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. Sure, coming out of a grade 3 at Tampa with Emma Jane Wilson, won that race. Obviously was not nearly the level that this race is. But I have the question is this horse starting to come into form? Atfield takes Emma Jane off, obviously. She's not here, and Luis comes aboard. So the horse is going to be in a good spot. You're not going to pay for a top jock in a grade 1 unless you think your horse is going to run, right? So to me, this horse is going to be a huge price that, may not win, but should definitely outrun the odds based on what I'm seeing. But again, Josh always tells me class doesn't matter. If that's the case, this horse on paper looks like may be there. Just a crazy thought process. And then another horse that I like at a price is the 9 Set Piece. I think this gelding's interesting. That ran really well last year on the turf. Went up to Canada with Joel at the Woodbine Mile, non-factor, but now has had a nice long layoff. Florence back aboard. It just seems like this horse, if this horse can duplicate what it did in the Wise Dan or the 4-Star Dave, I mean, this horse could win this race at what might be 8 or 9-1 in my mind. It's one of those races where, you guys are crazy about the 4, and the only thing, my negative for the 4 is the distance. I think the 4 may prefer 7 furlongs based on what I've seen. Just the brief history here in 6 races. Going from 7 to 8 is not a huge difference, but against established racehorses here that have proven they can run a mile, I don't want a horse at a short price that may prefer to go a 7/8. That's my thought.
Yeah, I know. I was actually kind of shocked that Mark didn't say anything about Cheryl Spite, since he was like all over her in that, all over him in that Tampa Bay race. I remember he was very, very interested in Cheryl Spite there, but
I made a lot of money on Cheryl Spite in that race. I do, I agree very much. Though I do agree with Brian. If you're getting 50-1 on that horse, you are getting a ton of value because that horse isn't that much slower than than some of the big players here. They're going to take a ton of money, and there's just a lot of big value to be had there. Now, obviously, low percentage play, but there's a lot of value there.
I mean, isn't that just a really, really, really bad line, though? I mean, I've seen no less than 8 or 10 people on Twitter talking about Charles Spite at 50-1. And I mean, at this point, this horse might be 15-1.
Well, I think there's a bigger argument here, which is that the morning lines at Keeneland this entire meet have been horrible. Like, I've never seen a major track that has this bad morning lines. They're just all over the place. I mean, I know we have a group chat where we're chatting with people, and you're like, "Hey, what am I going to get on this horse? This horse is 10-1 on the morning line, and it goes off at 3-1."
Right.
And that's every single race. The lines this meet have just been horrendously
See,
bad.
to me,
sorry.
sorry.
Go ahead, Brian. No, go, Brian.
To me, the 2 and maybe the 11, you're probably talking 20, 25 to 1 morning lines would have made sense, right? I mean, the 11 to 8 to 1 to me just seems ridiculous. That's just, it feels like a very lazy morning line. All the big name trainers and jockeys got short prices. The end, move on. Oh, Adfield from Woodbine. Okay, yeah, we're going to give this horse a huge morning line.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I would take the 2 over the 11 all day, every day. I think that line is, I mean, again, hilariously bad lines. And then when you add post draw on top of it, like, it makes absolutely no sense.
I just want to point out that Mark says, I've never seen a major track with such a bad morning line when we've been playing Gulfstream all winter. So,
no, see, I don't think Gulfstream's morning lines are that bad.
I would agree.
I'm going to leave that one.
I would agree with Brian here. I think there's just a lot of they knew money that at Gulfstream more so than at other tracks. I think that's different than bad morning lines.
Agreed. I think you get phone calls from Gulfstream from the backside of, hey, this horse is blah, 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 or hey, we just saw somebody leave this barn with a needle. You don't know what's going on, but it just, how many times we talk about they knew. What track do we have that conversation the most at? Gulfstream.
I mean, speaking of, bad / good morning lines, I think a reasonable morning line for a horse in here that I'm interested in, but I'm curious where you guys landed, was the 3, Atone. I mean, this horse is 12 to 1. I feel like that's about right. This horse really hasn't been respected in each of his last 2 starts, but ran 2 pretty good races. I mean, against some pretty accomplished, turf horses. Colonel Liam, one of the best turf horses we have here in America. I mean, Space Traveler is, an excellent horse that's come over and run a few times now locally. I mean, never surprised. Another Pletcher charge that has been pretty well thought of. I mean, he's only a length and a half worse than some of those horses in his last 2 starts. He cuts back to a mile, which arguably is exactly what he wants to do. I mean, what do you guys think of Atone here?
I don't hate Atone as well, especially if the turf course is a little bit speed favoring. I mean, he's going to be forwardly placed, and I don't hate him at all. I think again and honestly, Gaff right now is riding just as well as anybody at Keeneland as well. So you have that to boot. On paper he's a little too slow, but a wise man once told me that they don't run races on paper. So wouldn't be the biggest shocker ever.
I did see Murphy in chat talk about him a little bit because Timeform thinks he's going to be part of the pace scenario, and look, the horse is also getting blinkers on. Murphy said Maker puts blinkers on a 3. Maybe he wants the horse to be on the lead a little bit more.
I think Caleb is writing Briz notes with the move from JJ to Tyler and saying switches to a high percentage job. That's clearly Caleb.
That would be a Caleb note.
That would be a Caleb note. Oof. I can only point at you. I'm not going to highlight what Steven said, but I think you guys need to read that one.
Say it. He said the Sarge is a fraud, just like the Colonel. Just say it.
Much
Put
like
it
the
out
Sarge,
there.
the Colonel's been proven a fraud. Oh.
Ken Hutt.
Oh, no. But I did want to highlight a couple of other things I saw here in chat. Nick Feldman, could Mason be a beast here? Pratt getting the mount for starting U.S. in a G1 for Chad. And he thought he watched a replay where Mason is also a front-running horse. I haven't watched replays for this race yet, so have to take your word for it. But it sounds like both Caleb and Mark.
Yeah, Mason does like to be very forwardly placed. Again, though, that's a European race. There's normally not as much pace. So how does that translate to U.S. racing? We'll have to see. But I would imagine he'll be part of the pace scenario and somewhat forwardly placed.
Hey, how can you say that? Just last week, somebody in chat told us that Flavian Pratt's not going to be able to win at Keeneland. And then he comes out and wins the first race. And I think he won it like 30% this weekend. So he's due for a regression. Fade Flavian Pratt.
So you think Flavian's going to have a Flavian?
The funny thing is that Flavian
gonna bounce.
doesn't even have mounts in like all the turf races, which is just like insane to me. But
this past weekend was a career best by 3 points, so he bounces this weekend.
Bouncing doesn't exist. Nick Feldman saying that he likes playing against Cali turf horses, specifically at Keeneland. So he's going to play against Smooth Like Straight here.
I would say that in previous years that's been the case, but that has not been proven so far this meet.
No, Delmar shippers have been doing, but what are they, like 3 for 5, 3 for 6?
Like 3 for 5, yeah. Cali turf shippers have been doing, honestly, and Cali dirt shippers have done really well. And that used to be a big angle for me. You'd get these big hype West Coast horses, you'd fade them when they came to Keeneland, and you just can't do that this year. They've been running very well, which is not the norm.
Speaking of West Coast, I believe his first progeny are going to start racing.
His first start was yesterday.
Yesterday,
because I bet the horse, and the horse faded badly in the stretch.
Yeah, it sounds like this fucking Breeders' Cup Classic that I needed him in. Nick Feldman, know the figures are a little light, but the 2 seems awfully good to be 50-1. We already kind of talked about that. But it looks like he landed on the 4, the 2, and the 10 here. Who is the 10?
The 10 is the one I thought would be involved in a little bit of the pace, possibly. But, man.
Did you just use Julian and pace in the same sentence?
I did. But, it's one of those things. If class matters, this horse doesn't have it. And this horse is shipping up to Belterra for the summer right now, if we go off of past class, right? I want to like the 10, though. I do. I think if the 10 was coming out of the 4-hole or 5-hole, I'd probably be quite a bit more interested. But the fact that it's an Ian Wilkes and Julian's aboard, that usually doesn't bode well.
And honestly, Julian's been riding pretty terrible so far this meet. So
it seems like he just wants to be a daddy. Let him be a daddy.
Yeah, he's gotten to that point in his career where I think he's probably...
Jay saying that the 2 horses in this race at prices he likes the 1 and the 10. And PDT likes the 1, the 5, and the 9. We've talked this race to death. I'm making an executive decision. We are going to move on. So let's start taking a look at the Turf Pick 3 here on Saturday. We have been devoid of the Turf Pick 3 for 2 days. It's a great injustice. I would complain to Jim Goodman, but he said hi to everybody except for me in the green room this past weekend, so I don't think he cares what I think. But let's
weren't you carrying your friend's suitcases?
I was not. But let's take a look here. The Turf Pick 3 starts with race 5 on Saturday. And it's a nice little allowance race. Mile and 16th on the turf. I believe your morning line favorite, as soon as I scroll down, is going to be the 6 at 3-1, limited liability. And this was one of the races where I was talking to Murphy, our boy Greg, before the show, and it's just like, what the fuck? Flavian Pratt's on the AE in this race. Umberto Rispoli's on the AE, which think of him what you will, but I still think he's a pretty damn good turf jock. But they're both on the AE list in this race. But we're gonna have a nice full field here. Caleb, I'll start with you. Well, no, actually, I started with you last time. Brian, I'll start with you here. Race 5. What were your thoughts on this race?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a little interesting. There's so many horses here, man, and and all the horses I like have like decent notes coming out of like the 10-hole and beyond. So I'm in that AE category of crap. I really want some scratches to come through. Like if the 8 scratches and the 1 scratches, I'll be happy, right? But hold on, my PP's just moved. It's one of those things where with limited liability, there's not a lot there to knock the effort that we saw last out. I mean, granted, it was 7 months ago, 6 months ago, but for what's happening here, if you want to believe is the horse is getting Lasix here, horses dropping in class, the workouts come back a little slow, but it's a turf horse, so you're like, okay, what's the big deal? Man. With that being said, because I always try to, we always try and talk about pace. I said, okay, who's going to set the pace here, and then I'll pass it off to somebody else. But I'm sitting here trying to say, okay, is the pace going to come from the 5, the 11? I mean, it's one of those things where if I look at Brisnet, and what do you got? You got the 5, maybe the 3. That's kind of where I landed. But there's so many question marks inside. I look at the 1, and you say, okay, the 1 might be close. Gets the weight advantage, relatively low win percentage jockey. They're going to do something crazy, right? Anybody have any crazy thought about the pace before I?
I, I was saying my take in here is you have so many horses. A lot of these are fairly lightly raced. There's a lot of horses that were maiden winners last out in here. This is a race that I have absolutely no clue what the pace complexion looks like, and I think it's very, very hard to even derive one. I think we're going to sit here and be pundits and try to come up with something, but there's a lot of you don't know in this race with horses that. Was that run style in those 1 or 2 starts really the run style they want? And what is going to be the intent of trainers and jockeys? So, I think we can sit here and beat, the pace scenario to death, but we really don't have a clue.
All right, good. I'm glad you landed there also. So,
with that, it doesn't feel like it's going to be, to me, it doesn't feel like it's going to be fast. I mean, I don't see a bunch of need to lead horses in here. I mean, they're lightly raced. They're 3-year-olds. Anything could happen. There's a couple shippers, but I mean, to me, I thought there was probably 2 to 3 horses that I would expect to be contending for the lead, and I thought the 11 might clear off here. I mean, you go from a horse that goes from the synthetic at Gulfstream which has not been easy to wire, especially going 2 turns. The Gulfstream synthetic course has been extremely difficult to win on the front end. You get Paco Lopez up. You get a pretty rough outside draw where your only option really seems like it might be to send. And I thought he was probably your leader. I mean, I'm not really looking at pace figures or anything like that, just tactics. I mean, and then beyond that, I mean, yeah, the 8 horse, I guess, showed a little speed, and then there's a few other horses that are maybe stretching out or trying something a little different. But I mean, my take here was I don't think it's going to be a wicked pace duel on the front end.
That kind of makes sense. I thought the 11 made a lot of sense, and for the same reason that you highlighted the 11 coming out the synthetic, the 15's doing the exact same thing. So, since I've rambled here enough, between the 15 and 6, the 15 gets in and moves in 2 or 3 post positions. I do like the 15 second ask for Todd Pletcher. I mean, why wouldn't I, right? But it's just worth noting that with the 6, the better draw, coming back to Lasix, I think they're both going to be tough. So those are the 2 that I landed on, without a clear pace picture, just because I think they might be the quote unquote classiest horses in the field.
I will agree with you, Brian. I think if the 15 draws in, like that's where the most of my attention is going to go to. In these types of allowance races, and I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on this, but I know, Caleb, you're not a big fan of horses who broke their maiden last out, but if a horse breaks its maiden on the turf or routing, or on the turf or synthetic, we'll say routing, first time out, and then comes back into an allowance race routing again, I'm very interested in a horse like that. That's because that's the type of horse I think is going to improve. The kind of I tried to make a case for the 11 horse in this race, but broke its maiden sprinting, and I took a quick look at the sheets, and this horse has just been regressing every step of the way. So went 3 straight. And basically X'd his 2 other races. So, I'm going to a route again. I'm not super interested in this 11 horse. I kind of landed on the 4 horse here credit event for Chad Brown and Tyler Gaffleone. And once again, it's kind of the same. This is just kind of an angle I like to play, right? The horse broke its maiden first time out. Horse was routing. It wasn't synthetic, but I tend to basically make synthetic and turf. I kind of almost the same thing. And it's coming back again for Chad Brown in an allowance race. I think that this horse is probably going to be super short here. I think this horse is probably end up being your favorite. And I don't know, Chad and Klarovich. I mean, this just seems to me the horse that makes a ton of sense. It's not super creative, but looking at it from a pace scenario, I kind of agreed with you guys. It looks like a pretty even pace. I don't really see anything that makes me go one way or the other in like some type of extreme pace scenario. So I think this is going to be this is going to set up nicely here for the 4. Second time out, broke its maiden last time out for Chad, and I think this makes a bit of sense here. Mark, what are you thinking?
I got nothing creative to say here. I landed on 3 horses. I want them all equally. That's the 4, the 6, and the 15. I just think this race is, you guys have already talked him to death, and again, I have nothing really creative to say here. In my turf pick 3, I may spread a little more, but I thought the 3 shortest price on the board made the most sense.
Caleb, I know you got something.
Oh,
I
got something. Don't you worry.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't like the 4 here really at all. I mean, he beat a tiny little field of 5 horses on the Gulfstream synthetic, which to me, it sort of feels like this is just anecdotal. I mean, I could be wrong, but my kind of feeling was Chad sort of debuted his horses on the Gulfstream synthetic that weren't good enough to cut it on the turf, or that he's not saving for Saratoga or Belmont or even Keeneland. I'm not interested in this horse. He ran a nice race in his debut. He could win, but when you get these super trainers, they get these maidens that have these big flashy wins in their first career start. More often than not, they find some stakes to put them in their second start. And to see a horse come back in an allowance, to me, I don't take that as a positive because there's never going to be a price. So those aren't horses that I'm really excited to bet. I do kind of think the pace is on the slower side or more moderate side, kind of how Brian said earlier. But the horses I liked here were the one of which I think we've talked about already is the 6. I'm not going to waste any time because I know we all kind of liked him. Limited liability. I mean, came have a pretty strong race, a small field, but a strong race nevertheless. Has to deal with the layoff, but I think that horse does make some sense. But not as the favorite. I wouldn't want any piece of that horse at 3-1. The horse I like that I don't think we've talked about is actually being piloted by Brian's favorite jockey, which is the number 5, Play Action Pass here.
CJL.
Corey Lanery gets up, and I thought this horse made a ton of sense. I mean, it has a bit of dirty form coming out of the 2 dirt races. That's clearly not what this horse really wants to do. I mean, it's a very turfy pedigree by Cairo Prince. Horse has its only career win on the turf, going 2 turns at Ellis, and then happened to run into Tiz the Bomb in the next 2 races. And Tiz the Bomb's, arguably the best 3-year-old turf horse that we have in America right now. Play Action Pass ran a really good third at Tiz the Bomb, only beaten the length and a quarter at Kentucky Downs, and then had to deal with the Bourbon in the Grade 2 at Keeneland in October and was stuck in the 14 post, which is just an absolute death sentence at Keeneland, going 1 mile and a 16th. So, didn't really have any options other than to try to send and save some ground there. Ended up setting a pace that was a little too quick and got tired late, which is, in my opinion, super understandable. So I actually really like Play Action Pass. I think this horse makes a lot of sense at 8-1, adding Lasix here and getting back to the turf. So that's probably my top pick here, and I'll probably try to I do think it's a spread race, but I think I'd be against some of the shorter prices.
Let me ask you a question real quick. Sorry, Josh.
No, you're good.
We're 4 weeks, 3 weeks from the Kentucky Derby, from the undercard of the Kentucky Derby. Do you excuse the Pletcher move here in the allowance company to try and get this horse a race before maybe shipping up to Churchill on the undercard?
Which Pletcher move are you talking about?
Who was the
15? The 15.
Was it the
Tyson.
15? Yeah, one of them. Because you knocked the one saying that,
Oh, the 4.
The 4. Yeah, that
Chad
was the
horse.
one. There's the Chad horse. I'm sorry. This is a good spot if you're going to try and hit it Churchill on the Derby undercard, aren't you?
Well, you can make the same case for the 15, Bri, right? Like the 4 and the 15, both are the same idea. Maiden Breakers last out, but they broke it over synth. So, maybe they didn't quite know what they had. And they're saying, hey, let's get, in the state of Kentucky, let's run across turf, then we really know what we have, and maybe we can point towards Derby undercard. Yeah, I would imagine this is a class test or a litmus test, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. And if the 4 or the 15 show up and run huge, maybe I'll be interested on the Derby day for the undercard or wherever they show up next. But at 3-1, 7-2, first/second choice here. That's not the price I want to pay to figure out what they have with these horses.
I kind of like, I get what you're saying, but like, this is also $110,000 allowance, so it's I mean, like, yeah, it's got a condition, it's a N1X, but like, I mean, that's a pretty big purse. So I mean, it's all intents and purposes practically a stakes race. You know what I mean? Like, listed, like, it's. So I don't know. I don't hate the move that they're running this horse. They're in a protected allowance, but
So I Dikembe Mark. Can I have a minute to Dikembe Caleb while we're here?
oh sure.
Thank you. The 5? Really? let me ask. The horse is going to come make his 7th career start as a 3-year-old. Now they throw Lasix on, so they obviously know they don't have a stakes level horse. And it's my favorite jockey.
Dude, like,
it feels it reeks of desperation to me.
Dude, just like I was just thinking about this, like, isn't it just so funny how we meme about like Corey Lanerie out, like, can't get off the rail, blah blah blah. But sure and fucking enough, was it Sunday or was it Saturday where he was on some fucking turf horse and he just fucking boomed the shit out of all of us?
The seas parted, as he wrote. That was his one win in 15 starts on the meet. And it's one of those things,
dude.
With an 8-1 shot that I think there's question marks on, I will let Corey Lanerie beat me.
Did you not hear the heavens open up and sing? I mean, it was glorious.
No, that's like fucking that's like Kendrick on a speed horse where there's a ton of speed, and all of a sudden, like, he just fucking gets loose out there and wires. Like, just the memes become, don't let your memes become dreams, you know.
There's a lot of love in the chat for 2, Josh.
Yeah, there is. I see both. Murphy says he likes a 2, the 4, and the 6. The 2 horse here is Freedom's Way for Eddie Keneally and Luis Saez. The verbose Nick Feldman, he actually gives us reasons why he likes this 2. Looks good on figures. Fairground Shipper's doing fairly well this meet. Saez is back. He likes a 7. He likes a 2. Talked about the 7 a little bit, and so we'll look at his note there. But he thinks a 2. The 7's a perfect fit for IRAD. But yeah, I both Murphy and Nick Feldman on this 2. Any interest in this 2, Mark?
No, not for me. And this is more of a Caleb angle, but these horses that take 4 times to break their maiden, I realize one of those wasn't on the right surface, but you always wonder, the talent isn't there. This one may be a good runner, but I think I want to see one versus some better company.
I disagree a little bit on that angle, and I think Caleb might as well, just because A, it's not like a Chad Brown horse that took 4 times, and B, at least on Brisnet, this horse improved every single time out until he broke his maiden. So at least you saw improvement, right? It wasn't like he was just like second every time or whatever. Like, yeah, like, he ran a real shitty race at his first race as a 2-year-old, and then just casually improved, and finally won with Saez aboard. Saez stays here, so I don't hate the pick of the 2 here. I don't think.
I don't hate it. I don't like it. I don't. These are horses I don't usually want to go for. I mean, a horse has improved in every start. I mean, sure. I don't know. He should continue to improve, I suppose. I mean, he's bred to like the turf. He's bred to go 2 turns. I don't know what to do with the horse. Not my top pick. I think there's a lot of question marks here. 6-1's a little bit short. Saez has been riding fine, but not particularly outstanding here at Keeneland. So there were some question marks for me. I don't dislike the pick. If I was going to spread, the horse can make my ticket.
And the glue says that 2's first 3 starts are as a 2-year-old. He's very forgiving. And Nick Feldman says that the 2 looks like he had excuses twice.
Well, they're not counting right now the orange cap, and the orange cap is a 3% color at Keeneland. I don't know why they don't know this.
The other horse that Nick was interested in was a 7. Clement and Irad have been on fire, and first time for Irad for that. Clement is my top choice in this race. The 7, Mercy.
I fucking live with Tampa form, as everybody knows. I'm not going to bet a horse out of Tampa, especially Keeneland. It has not translated historically. It does not translate. It's generally just a subpar quality product of racing. I get that it's Irad. I get that it's Clement. The numbers between those two look good, but I would need 15-1 to go there.
Yeah, I mean, he got beat on debut by a horse that's working at Burger King right now.
This is first.
What?
What? First of all, he didn't get beat on debut, so that doesn't make any sense. Second of all, how's the horse going to get a job at Burger King?
You'd be surprised.
It's probably a terrible interview. But I guess, the job market is pretty tough out there.
It is.
Everyone's looking for help.
If a robot can do it. Do you see who the owner is?
On the
7? Didn't that guy kill himself?
Boo. Boo.
That was terrible, Bri, even for you.
And it's a woman.
Okay, I'm sorry, Hillary.
Boo. Boo this man. Boo.
I tried.
Jay did mention the 8 Watch the Music. Did go. He looks to be lone speed wire to wire. Tampa's been hard to do. 20-1 seems like fair odds. I think the horse looks a little slow. But and I mean, even the pace figures, they don't look great, but I don't know, man, Jay. 20-1. Like I am not one to talk you off a 20-1 horse, even if it's a mountaineer shipper. But let's move on here.
There's a lot of love for the low level maiden debut horses in the chat. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Jay Davis says Dio Juice on the 5. Jay the Second says the 12 Setting of the Wise is interesting. One first time out, showing a bullet work of 4 and 47 and 4. Yeah, I mean, it looks like everyone looks like they want to spread there. I'm going to try and stay narrow. I'm going to zig while everyone zags, and I will be dead leg 1. So let's move on to race 8 here. 5.5 furlongs on the turf, the Giants Causeway. We got some really nice horses. Like, speaking of just like a cool race here. We got LZ here for Chris Hartman and Mitchell Merle, who's just a speedball of all speedballs. You got the return of Campanelle to the U.S. Did Campanelle run in the U.S. last time out? Maybe she did.
Keeneland in the fall.
Yeah. And then you got you got Jouster in here. You got a couple nice little horses here. Looks like Campanelle is your 5-2 favorite. LZ is 3-1. Change of control at 4-1. Going good at 8-1, and then you got double digits on everybody else. Got a huge field here. It looks like we got 15, but it looks like they're gonna put 14 in the gate. So this is just gonna be an absolute cluster. Mark, why don't you start us off? What did you like in this race?
Yeah, I landed on. I know, Josh. I think Campanelle owes you money, if I do remember correctly.
Campanelle owes me a ton of money.
Yeah, so I assumed that you were going to take this one, but no, I didn't necessarily. I think Campanelle probably ends up being your favorite at quite a bit shorter than's listed there, and I really don't love Campanelle in this spot. She's 0-2 across Keeneland. I don't know if she's ever run a figure that's really fast enough to be massive in here. And I sort of wonder, I don't know, she's been campaigned sort of oddly, is fairly lightly raced. And I feel like there's some question marks there, especially off that last Keeneland start where, I think she was pretty darn short and didn't really bring her A game that day. I ended up on 2 horses here. The 5 Change of Control. You're getting, a horse that actually does really like Keeneland 3 or 4 times in the exacta, 2 wins out of that. And again, Fairground shippers have run really, really well back at Keeneland this meet. I thought it was a really interesting horse, with some tactical speed to be a little bit more involved early than somebody like Campanelle. And the other horse that I thought was really interesting here was the 11 horse, Goins Good. Brad Cox, and Gaff who have been very, very good at Keeneland so far this meet. And I don't know where that last figure came from. I don't know if that's a fairgrounds thing, if that's, a first start as a 4-year-old off a pretty substantial layoff type of figure. I'm sure it probably screams bounce to people who believe in such things, but I don't think Brad Cox horses are allowed to bounce. So I thought Goins Good was actually fairly interesting in this race. But again, this is the type of race I think there's a lot of different ways that you can go, and interesting to see what else you guys have.
What do you think here, Caleb?
Yeah, so I'm not really against the horses Mark mentioned. I mean, I think that they do make some degree of sense. I'm surprised Mark didn't land on the 12 here. That horse also makes quite a bit of sense. I will be against Campanelli. I just don't think she's this good. She didn't really show up last time against a field that she was supposed to beat. And all the excuses you would normally make for a horse like that, it just feels like it doesn't apply to Wesley Ward. I mean, his horses, like half of them are always coming off of a layoff of some sort, so you can't really give her that kind of an excuse. I mean, she's handled way worse ground than she caught at Keeneland last fall, so it's hard to think the ground is the excuse. So I'm going to be against Campanelli. The horse I actually liked here the best, and the morning line absolutely blows my mind, is the number 2 Star Divine at 30-1. Which just feels absolutely incredible to me. I mean, I don't know if you even get a third of that. I see Josh rocking the bobblehead. Is that for Johnny V?
That's the John Velasquez bobblehead, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this horse is really a talented turf sprinter. I mean, won first time out with a respectable fig at Aqueduct as a 3-year-old. Came back in the grade 3 at Belmont. Broke from the 9 post, lost some ground, kind of prompted the lead, just missed there. They tried stretching her out in an allowance. That didn't really work. They brought her back in the Galway, and that Galway has been a pretty live race. I mean, Illegal Smile came back to win earlier this meet at Keeneland with a really nice speed figure of about 120 on time form. The 11 horse, who Mark kind of mentioned earlier, Going Good, was also coming out of that Galway, came back in the Mardi Gras at Fairgrounds and ran huge, just missing to LZ by just over a length. And, that horse was beaten by Star Divine by, about a length or give or take, some change. So to me, I mean, Star Divine at 30-1, that's just an incredible value. I mean, the winning jock from the last time out stays here. George Abreu is excellent with these turf horses coming off layoffs. I guess the layoff is a question, but any move forward from that 3-year-old race, and this horse is a huge player. So I think there's a lot of ways you can go, but when you feel that you can make a legitimate argument for 30-1, I think that's where you kind of have to go. So that's where most of my money will be going through.
I kind of landed on 2 horses here. So I looked at Campanelli, and I kind of ended up coming at the same conclusion that you came to, Caleb. Like, I don't know. Like, yes, the horse is a multiple Group 1 winner. Has done it on very heavy ground, soft ground, and didn't really have an excuse last time out. I mean, like, how many times have we seen Ward, who runs these horses like twice a year, 6 months apart, and they come and they run their eyeballs out both times, So, I can't really take a short price on that horse. Of the short price horses, the one I like the best is LZ. The one problem I have with LZ is drawn the 12 post. So, I mean, the horse is going to have to go. And I kind of have this sinking feeling that when this horse goes 21, the horse does not win. The horse wants to go 22, does not want to go 21. And once it breaks that 21, that's where the wheels fall off. So, I'm a little concerned. Is LZ going to have to go 21-4, to get the lead from the 12 post? I don't know. But of the short price horses, this is the one that I kind of I kind of felt most comfortable with. But I got to be honest, guys. I'm a little interested in this Jose D'Angelo horse, this 9 Headline Hunter. I mean, the horse has won pretty decently in these off the turf races on the synthetic. It has one race or two races over the synthetic. It was an export horse. But I don't know. Those last three starts, at least on Briz, are pretty eye popping. I double checked it on the sheets, and the horse fits. I mean, I think the horse might even have the best fig in the entire field, albeit it's on synthetic. So you get Rispoli aboard. Look at those workouts. 35 at Paul Meadows, ran 35 at Keeneland, 35-4 in both of those places. I mean, I think this horse is cranked. I mean, and is inside of the speed of the speed in this race, which I think is LZ. So I think might have an easier time getting the lead here. So I'm very interested in Headline Hunter here at 30-1. I like LZ a bit as well. I didn't know what to do with Change of Control because of the whole matchup. Change of Control has beaten a lot of horses in this race and has also lost to a lot of horses in this race. So much to Caleb's chagrin, these horses just keep beating each other. So I'm very interested in the new shooter here coming from Gulfstream, the 9 Headline Hunter. But
didn't Rispoli have a mount today for a Gulfstream horse that almost won or ran pretty good?
Yeah, he was second and almost got there late.
Yeah, that's what it was. Safi horse, I think it was.
It was a Safi horse. I think the 8 horse. That was the one where a Rad bore out like crazy on the stretch, and they sort of bumped top of the stretch. Yeah.
But, no, oh, go ahead, Mark. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, Josh, I 100% agree with you on Headline Hunter. I'm wondering if we're all on that horse, if that's just a terrible, terrible line, because the horses won 2 straight. One of those is one that was taken off, off the turf. And honestly, if you go back even 3 starts, 2 of those were taken off the turf. So they've been trying to get this horse a turf start for a while, and this is a horse that last 4 starts has improved slightly every single start. I'm looking at BSF and Timeform US, and they all put this horse. She'd be just about as fast as some of the best in here, and you're going to have that tactical speed advantage. So, inside drawn of the speeds. Rispoli has all the options in the world. I would imagine he's going, and I can see this one. I can see her getting really, really brave on the front end.
Brian, what you thinking here?
I don't know. I wasn't going to give you my opinion since, Mark won't shut up, but it's okay. Nothing. Man, you guys are sore today. I'm trying to be goofy, have a good time. Caleb went to happy hour. Mark went to...
Dude, I heard Caleb crack open another beer. I heard it.
Right.
Got to keep the happiness flowing.
Yeah.
And Mark and the rest of the minions are looking for, Gru.
That reminds me, I didn't get a chance to show... since the Maker's Mark Mile was this week, or is this week, I brought out the 3 bottles from that Costco 3-pack, all cask strength. So it's cask strength Makers 46, cask strength Makers, and a little private select. So I've been. I
didn't realize they sold bourbon in Caleb Baby Splash size.
Yeah, they did. These are little 375s. Yeah,
it's one Baby Splash.
That's
a technical unit.
I'm surprised you guys. Maybe I didn't listen, but nobody took the 6. Did nobody talk Jouster for Pletcher and Pratt?
I don't think
someone in the chat.
Someone in the chat liked him, but we didn't talk about him now.
It kind of blows my mind because if you look 2 back, this horse had some speed at Saratoga that might rival and be involved in the early situation here. And the way Pratt's been riding, good timing. Charles just joined the chat. Pratt's riding lights out. He's on a mission to prove he's the best jockey in North America. And this horse, 12-1, I think is ridiculous. I kind of had this horse sitting at 5 or 6-1. I think that's a fair price in this field. According to Briz Fitz, the last 2 starts, maybe, the question of quote unquote form cycle. The horse came out in March on a 6-month layoff for Pletcher and ran a pretty good speed figure on Briz, was close to the pace, maybe just got tired. And that's what the comment said, close up inside and weakened. And That was at a mile. Now they come back at 5.5 furlongs on the turf at Keeneland with Pratt aboard. Yes, please. It's 12-1. I'll like I said, if we get 5 or 6-1, the only downside I have is I don't think Pletcher, and I don't have it in front of me, is that great cutting them back. It might be one of his, weaknesses, if you will, is trying to go from a route to a sprint. But
he's 9% on the route to sprint cutback.
Yeah, see, so it's not a great number for a Hall of Fame trainer, but it's one of those things in this field with so many question marks going 5.5 furlongs. You give me 12-1 morning line, you give me 6 or 7-1, I'd probably pay to see that.
Yeah, my issue with Jouster is simply that I do not like. I realize Jouster has a lot of fast early speed as a router on turf. I don't like routers cutting back to sprints. He's got some speed. He's not super fast early, and he's just way too slow on paper. I mean, maybe he's wanted to be a sprinter all along, and Todd hasn't figured it out. But I think he's in the Hall of Fame because he figures it out before he's got him 9 starts into him. It just seems like this is we've run out of figuring out what we can do with this one because those last 3 starts were all not that great, and we're throwing a dart, trying something new. And I think I would need quite a bit more than 12-1 to be super interested. I mean, you're sort of betting the horse and connections. You're betting on being Todd Pletcher and Flavien Prat, right? Like the horse has never done anything on the track that says this is a horse that fits in this spot.
But the horse has never ran this distance. Horse is 1-for-1 career lifetime at Keeneland, has never ran this distance. So, is it something with a 4-year-old for a $500,000 house or horse that I'm going to take a shot with at 12 or 8-1? Why not? I mean, you guys are all somewhere else in this field, right? I mean, Josh is making a fair argument for the headline hunter at 30-1. We're talking LZ on the outside is going to be pace, the pace leader, but is going to be drawn way outside. Jouster is going to be an inside issue, whether she's on the speed or she's going to be there. I mean, you look inside of her. Okay, Star Divine maybe gets her on the break, but I have full belief that Flavian's going to have Jouster on the lead.
Yeah, Nick Feldman saying that Jouster has regressed ever since off Lasix. He'll let her beat me, especially trying something new. Jay saying that Jouster said a 21-4 first fraction and it's only sprint.
That was a slop on debut, though.
Jimmy Two Eyes liking the 9. Let's see. Oh, Nick Feldman misunderstood. Charles showed up finally. He says fairgrounds grass horses are winning more based on GP, are winning more, and GP don't have as many turf races. Brown winners are. I don't know. He said are coming. I
don't hate that take at all. I don't hate that take. It does make quite a bit of sense.
Murphy likes a 10.
4-1 PDT.
Murphy likes a 10. He thinks the 10 is overlooked. 31 in the morning line. Time form US figs are on par with the rest of the field. Has closed before sprinting and is the next short of being 2 for 2 on the Keeneland turf sprinting. So that means he's 1 for 2.
Murphy must be looking at different time form US figs than I am because that horse is about 10 points too slow on time form.
No, last out the horse looked all right.
I mean, I do like the 10, but I like the 10 at 30-1, which is about all I can say.
Yeah, I mean, the horse ran a 110 last out, and there are horses in here that have run 118. So, in their last start. So, I mean, the horse is 8 or 10 points too slow on time for him. I know what Murphy's idea here is that, the horse can take a small step forward and be a major player here at a huge price. I respect that play all day long, but not one I'm super excited about.
Well, it depends on what your pace picture is here, right? And the 10 is going to be your one-run closer here. So if you think the 12 is going to tire out or whatever it may be,
if you think the 9 and the 12 hook up, and then you have the rest of the speeds really forwardly placed, and it's a tiring track, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I watched that race because I played a lot of fairgrounds this past year, and I love Murphy just fucking throwing the shade at Mark.
But, right? Look at that. Look at Josh.
I didn't think that 10 could win the last race because, she was a stone cold closer in a race that had no speed on paper in a small field. I thought that last race was visually super impressive. And that 118, I mean, other than LZ, no one's really running that thing. So, I mean, I think that, beyond that, I mean, 30-1, I think you could do a hell of a lot worse than the 10 horse here. So I'm not going to build my day around it, but I like it.
Hey, real quick since Mark's throwing shade at Murph, you do realize Swift finished 6th, right?
Oh man, if his cheeks weren't red before, they're definitely gonna be red now. Oh man.
Sorry, Mark. I can't resist.
Oh, look at this. Tell your friends. Finished 225th.
Oh, look what he just
interesting
said.
enough. Cash the same amount as you.
Oh.
Oof. Wah, wah. Yeah, that's another beer. That's a baby beer.
Hey, next time Caleb's, on a date, since, he goes on dates and Mark doesn't, can we have Murphy on? I want Murphy throwing the shade in person.
Oh, goodness.
Murphy's a nice person.
He is. Let's move on to race 10 to close out this pick 3 here. The Jenny Wiley going to mile and 16th on the turf. I thought this was a 2-horse race, and I picked one, and I'm going to single Regal Glory in this one, and just kind of move on. Regal Glory won. Huh?
Who was the other 2-horse race?
Shantasara.
But so both Chads.
Yeah, they are. I just kind of figure I think Regal Glory is the better of the two of them. One that the Pegasus World Cup filly and Mare Turf. On the sheets, on Brisnet looks to be a little bit slower, but on the sheets looks to be a pretty big standout, I think. So I'll single the 4 Regal Glory here to cash this turf pick 3. Caleb, why does Regal Glory not win this race?
That's a good question, and I don't have a strong opinion in here. I see it similar to you that Chad Brown obviously holds a pretty strong hand in here between the 3 and the 4. If I had to argue against Regal Glory, I guess it might be the fact that she in the past has had a tendency to settle for minor awards at Keeneland. She wins a lot in general, but as far as Keeneland goes, I mean, she's been finishing second in 2 or 3 starts here. She was second to Blowout last time in the First Lady. I think we all know who Blowout is at this point. She's not exactly the best filly or mare in Chad Brown's barn. And if you dig farther back than that, she didn't really show up at Keeneland in the Queen Elizabeth as a 3-year-old. She's one of those rare horses, though, that I think has really just gotten better as she's turned 5 and even as she's turned 6. I mean, she's a very, very talented 6-year-old mare who's continued to show up every single start, and she's probably better than she's ever been. So I'm not going to make a strong argument against Regal Glory. I think she does make sense here, Josh.
Oh my goodness, Brian's got the blowout background ready to go.
Horse of the year,
blowout. Jay saying he agrees, which I always like to see. That
can we just
at least one of the Jays agrees with me?
Can you just skip Mark's pick then?
Because Mark's going to use both the 3 and the 4 equally. Am I right, Mark?
Defensively,
you are correct. I will use both equally.
Yeah, so there it is.
And then I'll have the 2 defensively.
All right.
I like the 2. Well, I'll talk about the 2. I like the 3 and the 4. I don't know how I'll play this race. I don't. I've always thought Shantasara was a fraud because Chad sent her to Arlington. And then she came back and just, kind of stomped the Queen Elizabeth.
Wait, he sent her where?
To the Starbucks.
The Starbucks.
The Starbucks. Yeah, you're right.
Soldier Field.
That was an awful, abysmal field. But even if you ignore that race, it's hard to ignore what she did in Belmont and then again at Keeneland. Real Glory, like I've already talked about. So this is a crappy race for me because I don't have a strong enough opinion to single. I don't have a strong enough opinion to toss the Chads. The only opinion I kind of have here is I think the 2 is pretty interesting. Wilayak, whatever it is. You get Raspolia, who I don't think is going to be respected on the East Coast right now. You'll get a price with the 2 Chads in here. And this horse has been keeping really good company. I mean, this horse ran against Saffron Beach 2 back, ran against Ville de Grace, who came back to win. Horse came over here and then went an EP Taylor, which is always a really, really productive, strong race at Woodbine. Ran into Muktamania and then La Dragontia, who are both pretty strong fillies and mares in her own right. So that was a slow pace that day. She went from running in France September 17th to running in Canada October 17th with no works in between. And it kind of feels like it may have just been a little too much too soon. I do kind of think that she's going to be more fit, I think, having a number of works here in the U.S. since coming over last year. She does get a bit of a cutback. She's never really been routinely campaigned at 1.25 miles. So I think the mile into 16th does make a little more sense here. So I thought she's the only price horse that I could personally make a bit of an argument for. But
really,
it's
the
tough.
only one?
For me, it was the only one. Yeah.
Well,
where'd you end, Brian? It seems like you have someone you like.
I do. I like the tennis player. I like the tennis player coming out of the 5-hole. I think Martinez is going to be an interesting spot here. Nothing, man.
That's got Caleb, one of Caleb's favorite.
It's my favorite angles at Keeneland. G. Watts Humphrey.
Yeah, G. Watts Humphrey owned horses. That's where he gets like.
And the good ones do go to Rusty Arnold, so that's actually a 2 for 2.
See, you're getting somewhere. That's why I thought for sure you're going to circle all the way back around, and then when you didn't, I was a little disappointed.
Well, bring me home, Brian. Let's get her home.
I don't have anything smart to say, so here I go. The horse wins. No, one of the flags that jumped out to me was the horse was really good working out, and then took 14 days off after the March 27th workout. So I was a little concerned when I see that. Just did something happen? Was it just a weird cycle? Just it's one of those question marks that I have. But this horse is probably going to be what? Honestly, 10 to 1, 12 to 1, if not more. I mean, the 3 and the 4 are going to take the money. The 2 may take a little money. The 6 is going to take money. But when you sit there and you look at what the 5 has done, 8.5 Furlong's lifetime, the horse is 50% in the money. All right. Two efforts, right? So it's not huge, but this horse, she's managed to finish in the cash 7 times in 10 career starts. So it's one of those horses that's going to be close, probably again outrun the odds. And then when you put Hernandez on the Arnold horse in 3 whole starts, they've won 2 of them. So it's one of those things where, why not? We've seen nothing but prices come in at Keeneland lately, unless it's a chalk that Mark singles. But I'm not sold. I mean, everybody's going to be on Regal Glory, and rightfully so. But when you start looking at this race, you've got 6 horses, and I could legitimately throw out the 3, the 4, and the 2. And if you're going to play the turf pick 3, take 1, 5, and 6, and you can make arguments for all 3, the 1, the 5, and the 6.
I mean, I didn't hate Navratilova in the spot because of the pace. I thought Navratilova is gonna. It looks like to be your likely leader, depending on what Lady Spitesphere does. But either way, Navratilova is sitting on the inside, so I don't hate it. I know Rusty Arnold did win a nice race. Was he the trainer of the 73 to 1 that won? Yes. I know he had a bomb. Yeah, he had a bomb on yesterday, and just completely boomed basically everybody. So
what do you make of the 1 coming back from 1.5 miles? Any thought? I mean, that was 12 days ago at Gulfstream Park.
So I think the 1's going to scratch here, because the 1 is cross-entered into an allowance race. No, cross-entered into. Wait, what race is they cross-entered into? Is it the allowance race? Yeah, they're cross-entered into allowance race. The 5th race on Friday.
Okay.
And they're like 7 to 2 in that spot, and I really like that horse in this spot. So I hope they run tomorrow.
So they're just trying to get a turf race. If Friday got rained out, they're going to be there for Saturday, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, interestingly, I think it's it's 1.1 miles. It is a route. So it's a mile and eighth. It's a Sisterson horse. I'm looking to see if PDT. I don't see PDT. PDT has not said anything about this horse yet. So the Sisterton check has failed. So if PDT is not here to pound the Sisterton drum, then my guess is that she runs on Wednesday or Friday.
And since that is 6 horses, and we always talk 6 horses to death, I'm just going to circle back real quick. We always talk about the Tampa shippers not running well. And we've seen that historically, right? When they leave Tampa, they don't do well. But the 6 to me is an interesting horse because of the fact the horse was winning a lot up in Woodbine. So, okay, it's a Woodbine issue. Went to Gulfstream, got 3rd, Tampa 2nd, and 4th, Emma Jane Wilson, who I really like the way she rides. And it's like Roger sent most of his stable to Florida. A lot of them went to Tampa. So was he looking for some graded paychecks? Obviously, you look at what that horse had done in Woodbine. Okay, you got a G1, in September of 2020. Optional claimer comes back to a G2, and then just an overnight stakes at Gulfstream, and then a couple of graded stakes at Tampa. It's one of those interesting kind of horses where you say, on a cutback, was a mile and eighth just too long last out? Maybe, maybe not. It was good. Is that a firm? There's a lot of questions there, right? And in a race that this horse will be 10-1, maybe low in speed. Is it? It's not crazy, right?
It's not crazy. I don't think it's crazy. I mean, it's not, my top pick in there, but I think that if you're looking past the 3 and the 4, I think anybody makes some sense other than perhaps the 1. It depends what you think the pace does. I mean, so we know size is aggressive. He is probably going to put the 6 in the lead. If he can bully the 5 off the lead and make that horse take a stalking trip and not get engaged in a speed duel, I mean, the one thing I will say, as much as I hate Tampa form, is that it's very difficult to win Tampa turf routes on the lead. They're overwhelmingly won by closers. So those last 2 races are probably a little better than they look. So yeah, I don't hate the 6 at all. I mean, if I was going to use maybe a 3rd or 4th horse here, I mean, that would be it. But it's hard to sprint too much in a short field.
Yeah, Nick Feldman. Nick Feldman kind of agree with you a little bit here, Brian, on the 5. Really likes the 5. Navratilova was 26-1 last out, and he had her in attorney play. But he said the Chad seemed pretty good, but she could get a nice piece. So
that's it. Maybe you key it in a trifecta underneath somewhere. If the price is right.
Yeah, Murphy. Trashes Mark taking the chalk, but then he says he couldn't separate the 3 and the 4. But if he's gonna talk shit about blowout, who has the 3 even beaten? Technical analysis.
You can make a same case for the 3 or the 4, right? Like, if they really beaten any monsters, no.
I mean, it's not the Jenny Wiley of past year. There's no rushing falls in here, right?
And Regal Glory was a game 4th in newspaper record.
Yeah, Sixers kind of. You could see the Chads run 1-2. I didn't want to get super creative here. I thought the 4 kind of laid over the field, but
so we didn't want to get super creative. We just talked about it for 20 minutes because of that. Okay,
you're gonna end up betting on 6 horses.
I didn't want to get creative about it. I'm not gonna stop Brian from drawing happy little trees. You know what I mean?
Listen, it's one of those races where why not? If you're gonna play the turf pick 3 here, and you're going to A and B it, Mark, and you're going to use the 3 and the 4, but you're going to use the 1, 2, 5, and 6 defensively as Bs.
No, I would use the 3 and the 4. If somebody else beats me, they beats me. They would be my 2 A's, and I don't think there's a. If we're talking about this Keeneland turf pick 3, I want to be live to the 2 most likely winners in the last leg. I'll find my prices in the other legs.
Murphy said Princess Grace is a nice horse that Regal Glory beat. But then he says, who the hell is Oyster Box from the Pucker Up? That Pucker, dude. Look, you guys know I'm the biggest, Arlington apologist, even though, it's not a Starbucks. Man, that Pucker Up was rough. The Pucker Up was rough, and what's that? What's the other G1 they run? The Secretariat. That was rough.
They're
That should
always
not.
rough every year.
No,
That
I'm
was
just glad
rough.
Murphy's here. I really like Murphy in chat. This is great. I hope.
Yeah,
Murphy
Murphy,
comes more often.
stop working. Take more days
Quit your
off.
job and hang out with us.
We got a couple minutes left, so why don't we touch on the last race that we have here? We have the Stone Street Lexington, the crown jewel of all the Derby preps, aka the last one, and this is where people are just fucking scrambling to try and get enough points to get in here. I think your morning line favorite is the 9 Tawny Port at 5-2. In Due Time is 3-1. Major General at 4-1, which is just nice to say, Major General. You know, Call Me Midnight 6-1, and then you got everybody else at double digits. I do see Ethereal Road is coming back 7 days out. So the coach must really be desperate to try and get 20 points here in this race, because Ethereal Road just ran in the race last weekend at Keeneland. Not the Lexington, the Bluegrass. So, anyone got any real strong thoughts of this one? I'll be honest, I didn't really get a chance to look at this one, but nothing really kind of stuck out to me here. Is anybody got any real strong opinions on this race?
Not really strong, but I thought the morning lines here were absolutely laughable. The two horses that I landed on were In Due Time, the two, who's, the Kelly Breen horse had some, some excuses in the Fountain of Youth. If you watch that race, got altered in the stretch a couple of times, probably wasn't the best horse that, let me rephrase, was not the best horse that day, but probably should have been a little closer to simplification than he was. And assuming that that's a decent race, which we're not all sure about, but I think In Due Time makes a lot of sense here. The other horse that I think I was more high on is actually the 4, Ethereal Road, who Josh talked about on the short comeback, right? Short turnback. Quite honestly, this horse was just not really super involved last time out, had an absolutely abysmally brutal trip. And I don't think Dwayne Lucas is turning a horse back in 7 days if that horse isn't right and something funky didn't happen in that race. I thought Ethereal Road made a lot of sense in here. I don't hate the turnback. I don't hate the turnback from an old school style trainer who's been known to do pretty well with the quick turnbacks.
Mark, can you do a formulator search on Mr. Lucas on the week turnaround? You got anything in like the last 17 years or whatever?
But without counting Carter's presidency.
I'll let Mark look at that real quick. PDT actually likes a 3 in this spot. We all see it with Luis Saez and Eddie Keneally looking like they're trying to backdoor something in here. Caleb, did you have any strong thoughts on this race?
I like the 2 who Mark liked. I don't like Coach's horse in here at all. I actually like the 1 in here, Midnight Chrome at 20-1. I thought this horse, you go back to the Remsen. I mean, yeah, the horse got away with a slow pace and was crushed by Mo Donegal and Zandon. But if you look at the favorite in this race, it's the 9 horse, Tawny Port. I mean, he ran fine in the Risen Star, but he was beaten almost 8 lengths by Epicenter, Smile Happy, and Zandon. The number 1 was beaten by Mo Donegal and Zandon by almost 10 lengths. So maybe there's a 2-length difference between the 1 and then the 9. One of these horses is 5-2. One of them is 20-1. You get the Jose Ortiz up. We saw Mo Donegal and Zandon absolutely throw down in the Wood Memorial last week. I think that was actually a pretty good race. It came back pretty fast. Yeah, I have just nothing against Midnight Chrome. I don't see a lot of speed in this race. I'm hoping Jose Ortiz gets aggressive from the inside post because, I don't know. Who makes the lead in here? To me, it's probably the 1 or the 2. I don't see much speed. And, I want somebody forwardly placed. So give me a hot jockey that knows how to ride on the front end that's been coming out of a pretty key race. And I thought Midnight Chrome at 20-1, you could do a lot worse.
All right, my turn.
All right, Brian, who do you like?
I like the 8 before somebody steals it from me. Strava.
Wait, I like the 8.
Tyler comes off the Caleb's horse at the 1. You know, I like Cyberknife in the Derby. This horse was a nice third to Cyberknife in an optional claimer in February. And a few weeks ago when we did the Jeff Ruby Stakes, I said I hated those horses. Tawny Port at 5-2. Go ahead and beat me all day long. If Tawny Port comes to the Derby, congratulations. So give me the unknown here. Strava at 20-1. Okay. I mean, this is a weaker kind of field. I understand what Mark's doing here with a quick turn back. That used to be a great angle for the old school trainers. Of if you come back in 7 days, your horse is usually well meant and usually ran well. But when you go through through this list of horses, other than the 2 coming out of the Fountain of Youth to Simplification, the 2's going to take a lot of money. There's a lot of people who love Simplification for the Derby. So to me, that second place is going to be escalated by people who are, I think it's Real Dynasty or Dynasty Picks or whoever, they've been touting Simplification for a while now. So why not take the 20-1 horse that hasn't come up to graded stakes, hasn't been beat by the same tired horses all spring long? And I do like the fact that Gaffleon comes off the 1 to the 8.
I was thinking about this. Like, why is Tawny Port even here? Tawny Port's got enough points, right? Ran second in the stakes. Isn't that 50 points and should be good to go?
I think he should, yeah.
So it's interesting that Tawny Port's that shows up here. Maybe they just want to work the horse over the dirt again in a race.
Or they may scratch.
Yeah. So that was a little interesting.
And the horse has 3 races on artificial, and two of the career wins are on artificial. This horse still hasn't proven that he can run on dirt.
I mean, Tawny Port is the last horse in the gate right now if there's no scratches. We know there will be scratches. I mean, we already know that Morello and a few others are
Is that with all the scratches from this week?
No, I'm saying it's without scratches. Tawny Point is literally no.
Oh, well, there was like 3 or 4. There's already been like 3 or 4 this week.
Yeah, we know like Morello. We know horses like who else? Classic Causeway.
Forbidden Kingdom.
Yeah,
Forbidden Kingdom and Classic Causeway both out.
Well, those look like they have been accounted for. I don't see them on the leaderboard right now. I don't see Forbidden Kingdom or Classic Causeway. Crown Pride is going to run, it sounds like. And then Summer is tomorrow. That must be an Invader. I don't know the horse.
Yeah, that's the Dubai horse, right?
No, that's Crown Pride.
Yeah. No, I think Summer's tomorrow finished second in that race.
Yeah,
second.
Okay.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, there's about 5 horses tied with 40 points. So Tawny Port is kind of right there on the borderline. Maybe this is just some insurance run. I mean, I don't know.
Gotcha.
I'm not convinced Brad knows that this horse can run on dirt, to be quite honest. I mean, losing the Epicenter by 7 3/4, can you sit there and say that, yes, we want to take this horse to the Derby? You're in. So congratulations, Peachtree Stables. Enjoy the first Saturday in May. But you're going to be 50-1.
Nick Feldman saying, Taiba, baby. Can't wait for the Derby.
Ugh.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that gross?
I've done.
I don't know. Like, if I was going to look elsewhere in this, like, I tried to make a case for the 10 Dash Attack, but I think that this is just going to be a little too long for. Well, actually, it's a mile and 16th, so maybe it shouldn't be too long for a Munnings horse. But the horse hasn't really done any running after stretching out. You get Pratt aboard here for Kenny McPeak, but Kenny hasn't really been firing here at Keeneland, so I don't know. I mean, maybe I end up on Major General. Stumbled at the start. Maybe stumbled at the start and the Tampa Derby. Ran a nice Iroquois last year. So
I mean, did he though? I mean, what have any of those horses come back to do?
I mean, I honestly don't even know who the horses that finished second and third are. So
was that Tight Tampa?
I mean, you don't even know who that is. Tight
Tampa and Red Knobs. Who's Red Knobs?
I think
Red Knobs.
I thought Marcus Red Knobs. I thought Marcus Red Knobs.
Marcus Red Knobs. Oh, poor Mark. Didn't even see that one coming.
Hey, in all fairness, Mark did tweet out if he was going to be able to jump over me or walk around me. So he
that is true. Yeah.
He deserves the brunt he's getting today.
that was kind of bogus, but I don't know, man. Like, I think I'm kind of with you guys. In Due Time seems like the horse that's coming in with some kind of form. Second to Simplification. Like, I don't know. This is kind of just like a gross race. I'll probably end up if I play the late pick 5 on Saturday, which I know I say if, but I probably end up playing it. I'll probably have like 3 or 4 horses in here, probably like In Due Time. I'll probably give Ethereal Road another look, and then I don't know. Maybe I'll use Major General as well, but it's kind of a tough one. Take a look at chat
Hey,
here.
can I ask a quick question? I know it's past 9 o'clock. Barber Road came back last out and looked really good, but Ethereal Road has looked like crap. So the horse, I think Josh, it was you, the 10, finished behind Unoho and Ethereal Road and Barber Road. What do you do with that race? Because Unoho's come back kind of flat. Ethereal Road is not what we thought was in February. Barber Road looked good last out. So are you going to move that horse up forward because of Barber Road's effort? I'm just trying to think it through right there. Sorry.
I honestly I have no idea. I don't think so. I mean, I try to make a case for this 10, but like I don't know. I think it might just be distance compromise. I mean,
Fair
as soon
enough.
as the horse went longer than the mile, the horse is just not shown up. So, but
Look at Murphy. Man, I like Murphy.
Iroquois so bad. Only 2 of those horses ever won
Hey,
again.
for the record, one of those horses is at Finger Lakes.
But yeah, I think that's gonna do it for us. We got through the 5 races. I know. Sorry. I know. I'm sure Stephen Fox is in chat. He's gonna say it's not as efficient as when Mark ran the show last week, when we only had 3 people and we got through like 8 races. But I don't know, we had fun.
It was fun this week.
Yeah, it was. And then next week, I don't really know what's going on for next weekend, but I'll be out of town, so Mark will probably have to run the show, and we'll probably be pretty Derby centric. See what's going on with that. Take a look at some of the weekend races. But Brian, what do you got going on this weekend? Anything in particular you're looking at playing, or?
I'm gonna play Easter egg hunt.
Okay.
It's Easter weekend, so we're gonna go look for hidden eggs somewhere in my house. And as far as the races go, I haven't looked that much into the weekend cards. I'd like to get in a tournament since I've got a long weekend, but again, I haven't seen what the cards look like. I'll probably ask Mark in the morning if there's anything worth playing tomorrow as far as a feature or something. But it should be a good long weekend, man. I've always liked Easter weekend. We're not a real religious family, so for us, it's just a nice, relaxing weekend.
Caleb, what you got this weekend?
Yeah, nothing crazy. I was so close to just making buckets of cash at Keeneland last weekend. So I've kind of been chasing that. And this today and then last Sunday, I wasn't close. So, I'd like to keep chasing Keeneland. So I'll probably put most of my focus into that track. Aqueduct has turf again, which is just a wonderful thing. So I'll probably play some New York racing as well. And then maybe take a glance at the Golden Hour, since that seems to be one of the few bets that have kept me in the black so far this year. But nothing too focused anywhere in particular.
And then as far as content, what do you got coming out this week?
Content. So Capone and I on Horse Racing Nation will have just a preview of the Lexington tomorrow. So I'll talk about a couple of the horses I like. I've already kind of tipped my long shot play, but we'll talk about the whole field and give some picks, and that'll wrap up our Road to Derby show.
Fun. Mark, what do you got?
As Caleb said, the little turf ducking is the best thing ever. So I've been doing very, very well at the duck lately. So I'll probably have more of my focus on the duck than Keeneland, and I'll probably find a couple of tournaments to try to hop into. Not sure what's going on. I need to figure out if there's any good features or anything. And if you're still tuning in, one thing I would recommend, I know we probably should plug some other people. Emily from Optics is doing a optics like educational seminar tomorrow. I think it's at 11 a.m. tomorrow, and that looks like it should be a good thing. So I definitely plan on tuning into that because she knows her stuff and is very interesting to listen to, and it's very interesting to get kind of that. Some other slice, some of the little information you can add to sort of how you approach races, and I think she can oftentimes give that to you.
Yeah, and then I'll probably be mostly focused on Keeneland. Woodbine opens up this weekend, so I might take a look at that a little bit. I know, I believe my buddy Tommy Massis is going to try and do a stream on Saturday. So if he ends up doing that, I will I'll retweet that out. And then, but I think I'm just focusing on Keeneland until Derby comes around, just because. I don't know. I just tend to do better when I focus on one track. Maybe I'll play a little bit of duct, but I think I'm gonna be mostly Keeneland centric here.
The turf duct is the good thing. You need to get some turf duct.
Yeah, it looks like
Just saying, man.
Nick Feldman saying that highly motivated for Chad Brown's back on Saturday in the last race of the day. Pratt's getting them out. And Nick Feldman also saying he almost had a nice pick 3 at Keeneland today. Had the Chad at 7-2, that then ran second, and hit the size at 8-1 for a $5 base. Yeah, like dude, you just gotta hit one of those. What's up?
Oh, I was just gonna say, somebody who just actually, I get 2 PMs already about the optics thing. So it's on the Optics EQ YouTube channel. If you do a search on YouTube for Optics EQ, it's 11 a.m. Eastern time. They're covering the early races on Friday, previewing the Kentucky Derby prep, the Lexington Stakes, and some Keeneland Saturday stuff. So I know Sixer just PM me, so see if anybody else is interested. Sorry.
There's a lot. Emily's great on Twitter. If you've got questions, I talk circles and squares with Emily often on that.
Same.
And there's a lot of good conversation. If you have a pace question or something, I mean, usually on the busy days on Saturday, Sunday, she's always active. And man, there's some horses she's put out with 10 to 15-1 pace advantages that just come roaring home. So if you don't follow her on social media, I definitely would. I think it's what is it, May Emily?
It's May Emily.
Optics EQ. I think all 4 of us are. Well, maybe not Caleb because he gets by with his good look. For the rest of us, like circles and squares.
Oh, look, got a little koozie too.
I do.
But that's going to do it for us, guys. So catch us at wrong_lead on Twitter. All of our Twitter handles are obviously on here. YouTube.com/ontherwronglead. Buy a t-shirt at ontherwronglead.com. If you guys are still, if you're in a state that allows it, sign up for AM Wager. We got a nice little link in our YouTube. And that helps us out. They got a nice little sign-up bonus. I think it's like up to, you get like 10% back, up to $500 on your first wagers. So take a look at that as well. But I have no idea what you guys are laughing at.
Murphy's comment.
What did Murphy say? Oh, stay handsome, Caleb. Yeah. So that's going to do it for us. And yeah, Murphy, you stay handsome too, my buddy.
You too, brother.